Hey guys, it's Van Diazzo back in Carpe Vanguard deck profile, so hope you guys enjoyed. Don't like, comment, subscribe, and so sorry. This time we're covering another deck from DC Set 5. This time, of course, being Brandt Rotovisor. When Rotovisor came out, I was very pessimistic because for those of you that don't know, V is basically, well, I'm not going to say it is my favorite of the series, but I definitely think V gets a lot more hate than it deserves. And Nova Grapplers got screwed over in V. I don't know why I care about Nova Grapplers in V because I don't main them in V, but I mean, I just felt bad because they were kind of the testing ground for everything and got kicked in the shins a lot. And then Rotovisors are the actual transcendence of Nova Grappler, so I honestly thought Bushy was not going to take care of them, and well, they actually gave them really good support in set 5. So let's get this started, shall we see what we got, because honestly, I love playing this deck, and I can't wait to show you what's in here. First today, we have our Energy Generator. It's a Ride Deck Crest, so it goes in your Ride Deck, and you can only have Ride Deck Crest in your Ride Deck, one Ride Deck Crest in your Ride Deck. Auto Ride Deck, when you would ride, put this card into your Crest zone, for 1 second, energy charge 3. Continuously may have to have 10 energies, and I'll be getting your red face, energy charge 3, and then act once per turn, energy buff 7, draw a card. All pretty solid. It's a free energy every turn, and then if you end up riding, or sorry, if you end up going second, you get an extra 3 on top of that, and not to mention the fact that you can get a draw just by energy blasting 7. That is helpful, especially in an aggro deck where a lot of the times you're going to throw down your hand and swing face, but there are times where you're going to need that energy for your other energy users, so that's nice that you get 3 free energy every turn, because I'm pretty sure both energy users that are in this deck only cost 3 energies for the skill. So Energy Generator is a nice ride deck crest, and that's just what we're running with. Moving on to our starter, we have Rotovisor. Simple as that. Great Zone Boost, 5k shows, okay, base auto run upon if I can draw a card, standard star, not special for redraw if you go second. I don't think any of the ride line requires this as the starter, so again, run whatever star you want to. I choose to make a Rotovisor because it does fit the theme of like half of the, okay, pretty much every important card being a robot has Rotovisor in the name, so one of Rotovisor in the ride deck. Let's move on to our triggers. We run our over trigger Star Dragon DD of Infinitude Eldo Breath, Great Zone Boost, 50k Shield, 5k Power, over triggering in your deck. We're going to reveal it as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one immune to give it plus 1 minute for the turn, and if it during a judge check, activate its addition effect, which you get to double the power and critical of all your front row units until the end of the turn. Increase the double in power and critical when activated. So, guarantee when you drive check this, someone gets a million, you get a draw, so unless your opponent either sacks their own over, you're not getting hit or getting, being attacked over, unless, you know, the situation kind of calls for it. But then Eldo Breath on drive check. If you've played against Brandt, specifically Nordlinger, you, and any time in the past, you probably have PTSD from this, because essentially, that over would activate twice. So you probably have set that at least enough to where you kind of hate this card. And to be fair, doubling the power and critical of any deck is just great, especially when it's an aggro deck that's already pushing your opponent to 4 damage before they get to grade 3 preferably, or at least on your first grade 3 turn. So by the time that you do sack this, everything is lethal. So one of Eldo Breath as the over trigger, you could run Vulner for more consistent multi-attack with a multi-attack deck. You could run Dysphoria for recycling, or you could run the Dark Over trigger for healing and adding stuff back to hand, but I'd rather just have Eldo Breath for pretty much instant lethal the second you see it. Then we have our normal triggers, run 3 copies of Amulet Connector, Great Zone Boost, 5k Shield, 4k Power, can use Guards or Opponent's Vanguards are great 3 greater for Paths Shield. So, 10k Shield, nice to have as a draw trigger, so it helps increase the hand. You can choose to run fronts here, either over it or alongside it. I choose not to, because the deck I feel like already could get enough numbers if you end up reaching to a specific point, so I don't really worry about the fronts. I'd much rather have the draw there to, you know, help increase my hand and make sure I live long enough to kill my opponent. But 3 copies of Augmented Connector is good enough for me. Again, you could choose to run fronts over this, you can choose to run fronts alongside it. Either way, it's a 10k shield once your opponent hits grade 3. Then we have 8 crits, 4 copies of Star Aggression Dragon, Great Zone Boost, 50k shield, 5k Power. You can make the any crit you want, just to make a Star Aggression Dragon, because honestly, it's my favorite generic crit from Brandt, so 4 of that. And then we have 4 crits in Pyro Troll, Rope, or Decker Cop. I don't know why I was about to call this card a heal. Great Zone Boost, 50k shield, 4k Power, critical trigger, auto rear guard, and then by this unit boosted, shuffle to soul, choose menus, it gets 2k for the turn. All around, pretty solid. It goes to soul, it gives someone 2k. This deck does not have a soul problem, but if you for some reason ran into it, this is what Decker Cop is here for, I guess. And if you want to run a normal crit over this for the extra 5k, or for the extra 1k, which could make a difference in specific guarding situations, then by all means go ahead. But again, the 8 crits are here for pressure, especially when you're constantly attacking your opponent with at least 4 to 5 attacks every turn. So you want to be able to put your opponent down, especially once they get to 4 damage, and the draw triggers are here to help increase the hand. But again, you can run fronts alongside and make it 2-2, and then lower down the crits by 1. And we have 4 heals and Alterate Spear Dragon, Great Zone Boost, 50k Shield, 5k Power, standing heal, and nothing about it. It's just a free heal if you have same or equal to more damage than your opponent. You can make this a counter heal if you want to. I would just prefer the normal heal triggers, consistent 15k Shield over fluctuating 10, 25k Shield the counter heal has. But again, you can do whatever you want with that one, and again, you can run whatever you want, just to make it Alterate Spear Dragon, because whenever I run Starcrest Dragon, more likely than I'm going to run this dragon just because of 2 dragons. Then we move on to our grade 1s. 4 copies of our PG, and normally when I put the PG here first, that means all of our grade 1s have 4 copies. Strong Arm Conversion, Struggle Arm. So Great Arm Boost, 0 shows, K base, Continuous Sentinel. You have to 4 Sentinels, and that goes from a card circle. Choose on mutes. It cannot hit in the battle if your hands 2 or more cards in it. Choose a card from hands, guard is standard PG, nothing to specify. It basically means it doesn't only want a card hanging in your hand, we place it on guard circle. You don't have to discard, it's great, because that means you be as aggressive as you want in the early game. Spam the ever-living hell out of everything that you have, and pray to God that you can beat your opponent down to higher damage with it the second you can. And then when your opponent eventually counterattacks you, when you have guaranteedly thrown out all your defensive options onto the board, throw down this PG, give them the middle finger, and then pray to God that you can win on your next turn because you probably dumped all of your defenses on this next turn alone. So 4 Strong Arms, very solid PG to have. You could run Planet Wall Dragon or Violate Dragon. They both have the exact same skill as Strong Arms. I choose to make it this one because it came out closer to the time of Granzel's release, and also it's a robot just like Granzel. So there you go. Then we have our non-PG grade 1s. 4 copies of Detonation of Monster Bow Mine, Great on Boost, 5k Shield, AK Base, Auto Rear Guard, Battle this unit boosted. If your order's on a set order, shove this card, so counter 1. Okay. In this version of the deck, you don't technically need this because we got, this lovely and beautiful new grade 3 that makes this deck so much more consistent. But there are times where you're not going to be able to draw that card, so if you feel like you're going to run into a CB problem, I definitely suggest running Bubble Mine. He does get you extra soul, and he does get you counter charging, and because he's at the end of battle that he boosted, he could technically proc before Granzel procs, which means you could, if you don't have the 2 CB, like say for example you only have 1, and you didn't draw the guy that makes your CB a lot easier to use, you can just send Bubble Mine to soul before you proc Granzel Rotovisor's ability. Counter charge 1 therefore you have 2 open CB, now you can use Granzel's skill. All around Bubble Mine, very solid grade 1 to have, easy 4 of. Then we have 4 copies of Koto's Supporter, Great on Boost, 5k Shield, AK Base, Active Rear Guard, once per turn, Soul Blast 1, ditch 1, choose an arena card from your drop zone or face up in your damage zone, put it to your hand, and then if you put a card from your damage zone into your hand, put the top card of your deck into your damage zone face up. Okay, so it does take up Soul, but it's the only Soul Blaster in this deck, and it does swap out a hand card with a card in your damage zone. It is nice. The reason why this is here, because most of the time you're not going to send something to drop zone because that's just stupid. The reason why this is here is because, while yes, we do have more orders, so we don't really have to worry too much about the consistency, pretty much every single game back in set 2, I would hit at least one of these into damage zone, and there was one specific game where I hit 3 of them into damage zone. And granted, I lost that game before I even got to grade 3 because I just got really out aggroed. But like, I just thought back to that game when I was building this deck, and I was like, what if that happens again? Statistically, it shouldn't, but what if it does? And then what if I just don't hit my other orders? Because that is a fair possibility. So I've just chosen out of, safety reasons and as a backup plan just to run 4 copies of this in case I do end up hitting 3 of them into damage zone. I feel like that's going to happen again. It happened once, so it can definitely happen again. So 4 of him, just in case. Just in case. I don't trust my deck a little bit just because of that. It happened, and I don't feel comfortable taking that chance anymore. And move on to our grade 1, our last grade 1, one of in the red deck, none in the main deck, and that is Elda or Arda, Rotovisor going off its English name. Great on Boost, 5k Shield, AK Base, Aldo and Rotopon by a grade 2 card Rotovisor in the card name. Search your deck for 1 arena card reveal, put your hand shuffle deck. Okay, cool. Standard, every Brandt Gate card ever. Literally searches your deck for your order. I wish this was on place and then there was a grade 1 arena order, but that's just not the case. And then Auto Rear Guard, if you somehow got this thing onto the rear guard circle, when your other unit in the same column as this unit would stand by a card ability, it gets 5,000 power for the turn. Okay. Solid. It could make itself a 13k. Most of the time, the issues with any restanding deck is swinging before the restand. The reason why I say before the restand is typically after the restand, you've either attacked with the Vanguard, so you're about to apply triggers to it because the Vanguard is on attack, or it's at the end of the battle and you've already applied triggers to it, or more importantly, like in the case of Granzel over here, the unit would get power anyways from the restand ability. But apparently the booster chose to get the 5k, which isn't really useful because most of the time you boost before the swing. But is what is. One in the right deck, none in the main deck. If you did find a way to get this card out to rear guard, there you go. It's a free 5k, but you probably won't unless you cheated with this deck or unless you run a completely different build. But also in the sense of it's a free order and Rotopon, which is all you need to worry about. So one of there. Moving on to our grade 2s, let's talk about our most important cards first, the arenas, because if neither of these hit the order zone automatically, this deck can't do its job. 4 copies of Nova Grappler Arena Urban City, grade 2 set order. If set orders play, put each order zone. Thank God it doesn't have a cost. Auto order zone, when your unit attacks, if your Vanguard is a Rotovisor, it could be of any grade. So if you did get this out on your board while this was at grade 1, there you go. And you have another arena in your order zone that did not rest this battle. So, or let me phrase it, another arena that another arena that was in your order zone wasn't rested. Okay, essentially, if this is only one arena in your order zone, you can still use it. I'm trying to figure out how to word that. Rest this card, choose whatever unit that's attacking, and it gets auto Vanguard or Rear Guard. When this unit attack hits, either Counter Charge 1 or Energy Charge 2 until the end of the battle. All around pretty solid, because it gives, regardless if it's a Vanguard or Rear Guard, an on-hit ability that either gets you more resources. There we go for our CB spamming turns, but actually this, well, it does both Soul Blast and CB spamming, but also it could get you energy. So if you want to catch up energy for this, and or this in the early game, because you're not really CBing until you hit to grade 3, so you can just EB spam like hell. That's what I did one of the games where I rushed out my friend. You can use Urban City to do that. All around, a very solid order to have. The only downside is you can't stack the same value, but you just do use it once per battle. And if you do restand your units, you could still use the order again to give it the skill again, because it only works for the battle. So for Urban City, all around very solid grade 2 order to have. Nice card. Then we have 4 copies of Nova Grappler Arena Permafrost. This thing looks so cool, honestly. Grade 2 set orders play your order zone. Auto order zone when your unit attacks your Vanguard's a Rotovisor. Again, doesn't matter what grade your Vanguard's at. And another arena in your order zone was not rested during that battle. Rest this card, choose whatever unit that's attacking, and it gets auto Vanguard or Rear Guard. When this attack hits, Energy Blast 3, draw a card until the battle. I like how these two work in tandem together, because if this one hits, you get to Energy Charge 2, then you can use that 2 energy with the next attack from Permafrost, and if that one hits, you get a draw on top of it. All around, both of them are very nice orders to have. This one gets you hand cards, this one gets you more resources. I do wish Permafrost was did what this one does and gave you a choice of 2 abilities, but hey, you know what? Energy Blast 3 to draw a card in aggro deck is still pretty solid. And the fact that this allows you to search either or order, so if you think you're more likely to get attacks through that game and you want to get extra hand cards, you could have Permafrost. But if you think you're going to get more attacks through and you want to get your energy up, you could get Urban City. All around, nice order to have. I do like having it in this deck, so 4 of. Also, just increase the chances of seeing our arenas, because, again, hitting 3 copies of Urban City into damage on that one time has more or less given me PTSD. Moving on to 4 copies of Combine Rusher, the thing that could cause us a CB problem, and the reason why Bold Mine's here, the reason why this is here, and the reason why this is here. So, Combine Rusher skill, I don't know why I keep calling him Combine Rusher skill, auto Rear Guard, when this unit attacks into a grade 3 regarded unit, if your order has 2 or more set orders in it, get plus 9 less power for that battle. Arm pretty solid. Once you get past grade 2 turn, you will always have at least 2 set orders in the order zone. Being a 20k swing into any grade 3 is great, doesn't matter if it's a Vanguard or Rear Guard. And then auto drop zone, when a set order is played from your hand and put into the order zone, CB1 calls card to Rear Guard circle. All around, solid. It does eat into the CB a little bit, but hey, you got a ride deck discard fodder now, and you got a Rear Guard, and they call itself down. And this is pretty much the only card that's going to take up CB until you get to grade 3. So, free, ditch this, get the order from the skill of Elda, play the order, call this back out, go to Rear Guard spam, and if you have 2 CB, you can ditch 2 of them, and then, do the exact same play, except now you get 2 combat rushes out of it. All around, solid grade 2 to have for early game rush, 4 of. Then we have 4 copies of Compassionate Mechanic. Grade 2 instead 5k, she'll 10k base. She will never hit the board in her life because she will take up EB, which automatically goes to this thing. And not to mention the fact she is just a worse swinger than Combat Rusher. But if you do end up having to call her to Rear Guard, it's off the end of the world. Continues Rear Guard during your turn. If you have an order zone that has 2 or more arenas in it, she gets 5,000 power. Okay, 15k once you hit 2 of these. This is not that bad. And then continues Rear Guard once per turn. Auto Rear Guard. I don't know why. I knew there was 2 problems with this thing. I just never looked at them. Anyways, Auto Rear Guard once per turn. At the end about this, you can attach in anything. If your Vanguards are grade 3 or greater, and you have an arena in the order zone, rest this battle. Energy Blast 3 to draw a card, and then choose whatever units that gets 5,000 power for that battle. Okay, cool. Extra 3 energy, you draw and gets 5,000. It's technically a better version of this. I now wait for the day that they make a arena that just gives a unit plus 10 on swing, or at least plus 5 on swing. I feel like they'll do that one day. Or maybe they'll do it if it's defensive, but I feel like they'll do that one day. Either way, though, Mechanic being able to basically combine these 2 into 1 with the resource gain is nice, and not to mention the fact, again, give the extra 5k to herself once you have the 2 arenas. It's just that, this swings for better numbers, this is where your energy is going to go, and it also swings for better numbers for not just yourself but the entire front row, and as a restand target, but hey, Compassionate Mechanic is still there to be useful, so 4 of her if you have to call her to the board. It's not the end of the board if you do. Moving on to our last grade 2 in the deck, one of in the red deck, none in the main deck, Vasa Rotovisor. This one is actually possible to call to Rear Guard, unlike the grade 1. Grade 2 instead 5k shield, 10k base, auto and Rotopon by grade 3 card Rotovisor in the card name, check top 7, to up to 1 grade 3 or greater card Rotovisor in the card name, or up to 1 arena card from unreveal, put your hand and show off your deck. And if you did not reveal a card, you may call this card to Rear Guard circle. And then auto Rear Guard when this you attacks if you're evaluating a Rotovisor in the card name, it gets 5,000 power for that battle. 50k swing for the battle, not bad. I wish it was return, especially because it isn't a restanding deck, but hey, it is what it is. Not to mention the fact that it can call itself just by being not being able to add either one of your 8 arenas, or technically 7, or one of your, 7 grade 3s to hand. Also, it's nice that it can work with any Rotovisor. So if you have to play the budget version of the deck, and for some reason Granzel's expensive, it's not. Last time I checked, which granted was a week ago, but by the way, it's Saturday, October 5th, 2:17 p.m. But last time I checked, which was a week ago, Granzel was only $2, technically $2.68. But if for some reason he's too expensive, you could technically ride this on top of this and you would still get the superior skill. It's just not going to happen. Also, this has a rear guard skill, but you could still technically do that. Either way, though, being able to search, one of your grade 3s, whether it's your Persona Ride or your main grade 3 rear guard, or one of your orders, it's still pretty solid. And worst case scenario, if you don't hit something, you get a free rear guard on board. You don't have to commit too many hit cards. Nice card to have in the ride deck, and it's a good one for that reason. Then we have our grade 3s, 4 copies of Brandt Rotovisor, grade 3 to Persona 30k base. This card is a support card done well. There are very few times Bushy does something where they make a deck and it has a bunch of problems and they casually fix like a handful of the problems, and if not like a handful, like they fix the main problems in about 5 seconds with a single card. Yeah, Brandt Rotovisor is one of those cards. Grade 3 to Persona 13k base. The deck had a CB problem, with this being a CB heavy thing, and then, you kind of had to run Bubble Mine. This time you don't have to. I just chose to run as a safety precaution. But at rear guard, once per turn, Energy Blast 3, only 3 energy, which you get literally every turn once the ride phase hits. So unless you find a way to skip the ride phase, you're going to get that 3 free energy. Choose one of your vanguards with Rotovisor in the card name. Until end of turn, the cost of that unit's original auto abilities becomes CB1. So that skill, that's CB2, is now only a CB1. And again, that is proccable every single turn as long as you still have this on board. And then auto rear guard, when this unit stands by the ability of your grade 3 or greater vanguard Rotovisor in the card name, regardless of what grade the opponent's vanguard's at, still boss 1, choose any of the arenas in your order zone and stand them, and any number of them at that. So if there's like 2 of them rested, you can stand 2, if you can stand 3. Obviously, if all of them are rested, you stand as many as you want, and you want to stand all the rest of the ones, but being able to stand them up again after, because that was kind of the issue before, where you would have to rest them, and then you didn't know what attacks would go through, so you didn't know what attacks were more likely to get the resource gain, but now you just rest them regardless, and now you'll be able just to restand them and do it again. But you restand the orders, and then if you stood 3 or more, regardless of what grade the opponent's vanguard's at, granted right now you're only going to be able to get out 3 once the opponent hits grade 3, but later on in the future you might be able to get 3 but while the opponent's at grade 2, CB1, and your entire front and rear guards get 10,000 power. And for the record, if you did have the 3 arenas, this gives the front row an extra 10k. So automatically, this thing is a 33k. And if you Persona Road with it, 43. Brings this thing down to 1 CB, gives the entire front row rear guard plus 10, all for only 1 CB itself, and it gets to restand your cards for a resource that's only taken up by one other card, which is here as a safety precaution that allows you to use cards that give you more resources. I do not need to tell you why this is a 4 of. It is very blatantly obvious why it's a 4 of. Then we have 4 copies, 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck, of our last card in the deck, our main grade 3, who has honestly done really well, and I love how they didn't just kick Nova Grapplers in the shin this time. Granzel Rotovisor. Grade 3 to Persona 13k base. God, this thing has a lot of guns attached to it. Continues Vanguard during your turn if your order zone has 3 or more arenas in it. Your entire firm gets 5,000 power. And then Auto Vanguard, once per turn, about this unit attacked to anything, whether it's Vanguard or Rear Guard, regardless of grade. CB1, draw a card, choose the same number of your rear guards as the number of arenas in your order zone, regardless if the rest are standing, and stand them. And then if you chose 3 or more rear guards, all your chosen rear guards get 5,000 power for that turn. Okay, cool. Your rear guards get 5, your front row gets 5k. The only thing is you just have to have 3 or more orders, and right now, because of how it works, since, there's no grade 1 order, and this searches once it's wrote upon, you're going to get 1 once you hit grade 2, and then assuming this hits another one, that's the other issue with this deck, if there's no other searches for it, but assuming you get 1 off of this skill, you're going to have 2 on your first grade 3 turn, unless they make another card that allows you to superior place an order, and then once you get to grade 3 on your Persona Ride turn, or what would be a possible Persona Ride turn, then you could have the 3 orders. But either way, though, very solid grade 3 to have. Its original second grade 3 turn was not that bombastic, because we didn't have this before, and now that we do have this, you're probably winning on that second grade 3 turn now, at least a lot easier because of the guaranteed at least quote-unquote persona-ish effect, and then plus persona, oh yeah, you're definitely winning. All around, Grand Style Rotovisor, very solid grade 3 to have. It gets you at least 2 extra attack, guaranteed at least 1 because of the grade 1, but more likely than not, at least 2 extra attacks on your first grade 3 turn, meaning your opponent doesn't pull damage triggers or you're just smoking out the rear guards on the first swings. Then you could definitely add for pressure and just kind of push them to higher damage to where that persona ride turn plus Trampant is going to be lethal. Not to mention the fact that, again, once you do hit the 3 or more set orders, everyone in the front row gets 5k, and then this is going to get 5k all the restored units. So 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck. Not a bad grade 3, and you do get an extra hand card on top of it, so it does act as a little bit more defensive and consistency option. And while the CB2 is a little bit determining, remember, Trampant brings it down to CB1 regardless of what grade the opponent's Vanguard's at, literally for a cost that is always fulfilled because it's 3 energy charge 3. This could get you a free CC in case you use it early on in like double Combine Rusher, and Bulba Mine, worst case scenario, will always fixed it at least by 1. So 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck. And that's it for this deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. All around, this deck is genuinely very fun to play. I really was pessimistic when it was first released because I really thought Bush was going to kick into the shin. But honestly, they've done a really good job of supporting it. They've given us such an amazing supporting grade 3 with giving good numbers to front row and dropping down the cost of our CB by 1 with a skill that will literally always be active. If you can't tell, I'm really appreciative of that skill. We got a really good supporting set order. We have ways to recycle cards. We have this generic countercharger who everyone loves. Not to mention the fact we just have a good chunk of cards that we can always rely on to be useful. And our main grade 3 is both defensive, even though it's one draw can actually make the difference in a lot of decks, but it's also offensive as well with his own skill. All around, it's fun to play, and I definitely recommend you try it out if you are interested in playing an aggressive playstyle, or if you like Novas in the past, because they really do have remnants of them, except not screwed over by Bushy. So I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us on Twitch, and don't forget to snap your Vanguards.